retribution.
All right, so let's talk about the full first season of Daredevil Born Again, right? Yes, we talked about the first couple of episodes that dropped
Yes,
on the
speaking
same
of
day.
speaking of transitioning into Catholics, right?
I know, right? I know, boy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, all 9 episodes are out for this first season here, right? So, Ricardo, if you don't mind, I want you to do the synopsis for this, right? But yeah, quick
Sure.
preamble, right? This is a long-awaited, I should say, reintroduction into the world of Daredevil, right? This is where this character who is still played magnificently by Charlie Cox is now in Marvel Studios territory. So he's not
Correct.
in Netflix territory anymore, right? And just right off the gate, all these first 2 episodes, I like the fact that it still felt like we were watching a Netflix show, right? As a matter of fact, while I was watching this entire season, it didn't feel like a Netflix show or Marvel Studios show, right? Even though, to be fair, it does have the Netflix vibe of the slow burn. That's one thing I always kind of notice when it comes to Netflix shows. They always have like a sort of a slight slow burn vibe to things, right? And I noticed that in particular with Daredevil, it's a slow burn kind of film. It's not a action heavy kind of series anyway, right? So I can imagine some people being kind of disappointed, like, oh wow, in Marvel Studios and the show is still taking its time, right? But I will talk about that in my review of it, right? But yeah, this is basically Daredevil's like official introduction into Marvel Studios territory, right? I like that it still captures that dark neo-noirish world that pretty much made the Daredevil TV series what it was, right? And you could
Yeah.
see how its offshoots that would be like Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and the Punisher and to a lesser extent Iron Fist, right? You could see how those shows really sprung up from the dark, grounded in reality world that was set up through that Daredevil series, right?
Correct.
But yeah, here we are now, our first season now of Born Again, so yeah, Ricardo, take it away. What was Born Again about?
Yeah. It starts off with a nice little celebration with people at a bar. What's the name of the bar again? By I forget the name. But it's Daredevils. The Lyman bar. They go to the bar. They celebrating. Well, they celebrating a case that's going well for Foggy. This becomes relevant later, and the basically you find out big something they get a piece of information that Bullseye might do something, so Daredevil goes off and tries to sort that out. He sneaks off, and then he realizes no, that Bullseye is actually at the bar itself and targeting someone. And then the big opening sequence is Foggy's the target of Bullseye, and it's implied to be just like a kill or it might be personal for Daredevil, but you learn later that's not the case. And that's the big setup. Yeah, Foggy's killed. Matt kind of crashes out and attempts to kill Bullseye, throws him off the building, and then we have a time skip, and we learn Karen Pages kind of leaves. She goes out west to San Francisco, if I remember correctly, and Matt forms a new company with I forget the new lawyer name, but it's a new chick. She there, and then they set that up for the situation. Meanwhile, Kingpin becomes mayor. And then they set up that conceit of Kingpin becomes mayor. And that's where it builds. It's Matt versus Kingpin setting up a conceit about more martial law, the situation getting worse and worse. Kingpin has he has it out for vigilantes. A lot of sycophants in and around Kingpin making the situation worse. And then it just sort of slightly escalated, and now it comes to the end, with Punisher, Kingpin, the police, and Matt having to fight back against all of this because things really bad. And we see BB Uric, right? Ben Uric's niece have a whole thing with she has a whole back and forth. The police being overstated by effectively a kind of Bronx type situation, and Kingpin making the wrongs with respect to that. And yeah, it's solid stuff. Uh Great so far. Don't love it as much as the earlier stuff. Don't love it as much as the Netflix material. But I thought this season was alright. Like it feels a bit rushed. I didn't expect it to end on effectively a cliffhanger. Like it's it sets up itself for another season. I thought we'd have a big fight, like, oh, we having a big final fight or something. Nope. Just kind of sets everything up. And I was enjoying the character stuff, especially when Matt gets a new love interest, and the back and forth with them is great. The stuff involving Kingpin's wife is great, like especially with respect to a certain person involving a bat. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and it then you find out what's going on with Foggy. Like I thought that reveal is great, and then involving, yeah, they bring back Bullseye too. Like I love that. That all of that was good stuff. And yeah, it's not. I again don't like it as much as Daredevil season 1 or 3. Probably about the same as season 2. But this works a little better than that. And again, I was just a little let down, not sure, but it does just the story just doesn't conclude. But they put out Kingpin as genuinely terrifying, especially coming down to the end. They set what they set up with the wife is great stuff, and then they just set up an interesting clash, and I really want to see how it's going to play out. Yeah, this was solid for me. I didn't super love it, but solid, kept my attention, decent stuff. I thought actually this was pretty great, all things considered.
Yeah, well, for me, I enjoyed it as well, but not as much as the third and final season of Netflix's Daredevil, right?
Right.
Just a couple of gripes, too, but they are minor, right? Even with its 9 episode run, I did feel like the season itself, or I should say, like a couple of episodes could have been shaved off. Like this easily could have been, I don't want to say 6 episodes, but it could have been like 7, right? Or
Right.
maybe 8, but 9.
Well, it's the stuff they do it with the other villains. Like it had what's his name, Muse, and I forget the other villain, the guy with the thing. There's 2 guys, right? Or it was
No,
Muse.
it's just Muse. At least
Right,
Muse is like one of the main villains, basically. Yeah.
right. And so the Muse stuff I felt was just a kind of side
Yeah.
distraction kind of thing. But
Well, sorry. Actually, there's some, gangland stuff going on. So there's this one guy by name of Luca, and it's basically like 5 family stuff, right? That's basically what it
right.
is. Yes, they pull in from
Yeah.
Godfather
The
territory,
I
right? But yeah.
forget I forget who was taking the little girl blood. That was still Muse, right?
That's Muse. That's Muse. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Muse, right.
Right.
No,
By the
right,
way,
right. No, but
which is a
stuff,
character that I know nothing about. I
yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if that is, and it feels like an actual Daredevil character, but I
right.
know nothing about that character.
Yeah, I'm largely ignorant of the character as well, so I don't know who, like, what to, if they was pulling. I didn't. It don't really matter because you work all things considered. But what it did, I thought was interesting was like the stuff with White Tiger. It's setting that up and building that towards Sting. Well, RIP to the real actor. He apparently passed away a while back now.
Yeah.
But then they played that and then they frame it, and I felt they could have done more with this with the police and Punisher, because they really make it look like, oh, Punisher kill the fellow, and it's like, oh no, that's not happening. And that I felt they could have done more with, like set that up a little better. Again, this is why it felt like season 2, because in season 2 of Daredevil, the Netflix one, I felt they didn't do enough Punisher. It was Punisher stuff, and then they made it about the hand, and then they just made it almost entirely about the hand at the end. I was like, no, it
Yes,
should
I
have just
remember
been an entire Punisher thing. Like, but in this, we get something involving the whole Punisher thing and Kingpin, and I felt they could have done more with Punisher, Kingpin, and the cops, but they just kind of only do that coming on to the end. I was like, all right, well, we should have get more of that. I don't know, all things considered. But yeah, I still enjoyed it a lot. For what it was, but the stuff with Muse, no, that it felt like a side distraction, but it did feed into the main plot, especially with what happened with Matt's girlfriend, who's the psychiatrist. Now. That stuff come back full circle, and I thought, okay, that's why it happened because of the whole mass vigilante thing. Now. So the idea was, oh, it have genuinely terrible vigilantes. Here's why, and we're gonna make that conceit play it out, and then Matt now had to keep quiet. Episode that I thought, well, I heard she was supposed to be in it, but they cut it. But I thought the back episode was fun too. Again,
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it. It's kind of it's kind of let me just call it a mid-break episode, because
yeah,
again,
exactly.
it's 9 episodes, and that episode literally was episode 5, so that's why it's
Right. Yeah, it works. It works so its own conceit, but again, it feeds back into the psychiatrist because they keep doing the whole trauma thing. That's the whole idea. It's like the idea is that, all right, this thing that it don't seem necessary, no, it feeds into the character's experiences, and that's the logic. And because the psychiatrist knew that Daredevil was under the, well, she didn't know it's Daredevil. I don't think she knows at all yet, but she know Matt was in a robbery, so that'll feed him to him, and then he being dismissive and distant to her. So it's all these little character stuff I felt mostly worked. That's why I didn't really feel like it needed to cut stuff necessarily. But yeah, I dug it for it was they didn't have Kamala Khan, but they had the dad, and that worked for it to its whole conceit. Has a nice little side character. It's like, all right, cool. This is the same actor, if I remember correctly. I know he got in some trouble, so I thought they would like get rid of him.
He did it?
So yeah, I saw something. I remember reading some little story, but it wasn't like a big deal or anything like that. But yeah, I heard some. So I thought they would they would get rid of him, but no, apparently he's fine. So it's like they just keep the actor. It's fine. That's about it. Overall, I think where they're going with the vigilante thing and where they're going with that, and then the big cliffhanger with going back to the bar was solid. Like that final frame through the window is great. And yeah, it's where they set it up and where they're going with the wife. Because the wife is like a complete menace. So let's be clear about that. Kingpin wife. Oh my god.
Yeah. She's a problem. She is a problem.
She is terrifying. She's absolutely terrifying. And then the way it framed is like you wondered if Kingpin wife is the one who set up the situation with Bullseye. At the end, they're like, oh shit, that it's quite possible that might be the case. Maybe. Not sure. Because I find it was kind of weird that Bullseye would do that and expect Matt to jump in the way. I'm not sure, right? Did he know that Matt would do that? Don't know. Right. So it kind of weird, right? But yeah, I really want them to. I really wish that they resolve this. Like I really wish it had a 2 more episodes or an extra final long episode and just have the fight sort itself out so we could think. But they leave it on a cliffhanger, and I was like, well, when are we gonna get season 2? That's my problem. I really hate the cliffhanger stuff. Like, no, resolve it, reset the story, or or build from the story, whatever it is. But this cliffhanger thing again, kind of tired of that. Especially because everything's so precarious now. Because I want to, we say it, oh, we're gonna get next season, but I'd have they start shooting it. Not sure. So I got to read some news. Daredevil season 2 cancelled or some bullshit like that. Like, all they gotta do. Anyway, I dug it. I thought this was actually pretty good, all things considered. Written, for me, like an 8 out of 10. I know a lot of some people was dragging it, but I thought it was working for what it was trying to do, especially evolving the story, especially with the lack of Foggy and playing it with Matt's frustrations with that. And I thought most of that worked because it felt like emotionally quite realistic, especially with what Matt was going through. And then but it should have had a little more action, but I didn't care because it's like solid character stuff in my opinion. And yeah, I enjoyed this. I didn't really have any major problems with it. If somebody could point out anything major that you had an issue with, didn't really think about it. I find the plot was decent for all things considered. It kept my attention. Each episode was reasonably entertaining, and that was about it. I mean, they had some crappy CGI here or there when Daredevil swinging around. Because like the one thing they make different from this, he's swinging around now like Spider-Man style, which is like from the comics, so it's fine. I suppose they could do more thing, but they can't spend the money for it. So whatever, moving on. So that's about it. 8 out of 10. I enjoyed this. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I agree with you for the most part, right? I still enjoyed it nonetheless, right? But another gripe I had too was, not enough Punisher, man. Like, he's basically there in 2 episodes. And because they set up the whole thing with White Tiger and these cops who are, following the Punisher tradition of just shooting first and asking questions later. It's like, all right, cool, but it didn't really expand on that, right? So yes, what you brought up about having, the show should have had an extra episode. I guess so. I guess we should have had a 10th episode that just clocked in at about an hour, a little bit more. I guess I don't know. But I still felt like, it just ran a tad bit too long. That's the season itself, right? I think the reason with that too is, admittedly, since we, talking spoilers here, we have to wait a while before Matt becomes Daredevil again. And I didn't mind that. I like the moment where you are seeing Matt dealing with this conflict. He's trying to be the hero while he's being the lawyer, but he's still hung up on Foggy's death, and you see how that really affects him, especially with his relationship with the psychiatrist whose name is Heather, right? I like how that plays out. That plays out very well, right? But yes, after the 5th episode, that's when he dons the outfit again, and he kicks a lot of ass or whatnot, and it works, right? Muse is a great like side villain, you know what I mean? Yes, he is the crazy psycho guy, and yes, he does fall into typical psycho territory, even right down to the way how he talks to Heather. Okay, he has this weird obsession with her, and how that plays. I was like, been there, seen that psycho shit 101, blah blah blah, right? But the payoff I felt was absolutely worth it, right?
They brought back where's his name, boy? Swordsman, I think from
Hawkeye. Because when I first saw him, I was like, hey, I know you from. But
what they did.
But there's actually a moment earlier on before he's officially introduced where a guy who is showing this
Short
YouTube
strips,
video, right? Yeah,
right,
through the BB report, sorry,
right,
which by the way is a
right,
great narrative framing device in terms of
right,
showing how the city feels about this whole stuff with crime and all that
right.
stuff. I'll get to that at the end, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's a good framing device, but like what they do with him later is great stuff involving money now. And Kingpin, like how Kingpin just shaking on the rich people. I thought that was pretty good too. In the ending, it's
Yes,
like, all right, they rope him in a smart way now because yeah, he's a rich guy, but like how and why? So it's not just the sword thing now, and
yes.
Kingpin using that against him. It's a great little beat now. It's like, all right, this good too, solid stuff.
It is,
Hey,
yeah.
good, sure.
And for me, I was just loving how Kingpin was just trying to keep his his feet, in both his old ways, as in just the Kingpin and the me as well, right? Shaking
Right,
rich people
but
down, right?
yeah,
But right,
the core reveal, the reveal at the end with the plot is great stuff.
it
And
is.
like yeah, it's
Yes,
like great stuff because it's a great like lawyer thing. Because
yes,
again, it comes back to Matt the lawyer have to solve the problem, not the Daredevil. I like that.
yes, yes,
Um,
yes, yeah.
it's
So
basically a big legal loophole, and I was
yes,
like, oh, that's actually kind of clever. It's simple, clever legal loophole plotline. And then Kingpin just tell the wife, yeah, well, when we was doing, we think it was millions, but now we could do it with billions. So like, all
billions.
right, that's simple,
Yeah,
simple plotline. Clever idea. They don't get super clever with it, but it's a good stuff and it's a good reveal. Like
yes,
it's like, oh yeah, right. The wife is a menace. Here's why. Yeah, right.
yeah,
It's a problem.
exactly.
Yeah, and they make it work. I thought I was like, oh, this clever though, simple, like simple plot reveal. Love it.
And I love how he was just getting his associates, his staff basically to kind of play along with him, right? So case in
Right.
point, Daniel Blake, who I thought was played excellently by Michael Gandolfini, right? Who you would know
Yeah.
as yes, the son of James
Right.
Gandolfini from
Yeah.
yeah, it's
It
him,
take it take me a hot minute to pick up his heel. It's like watching this boy face, and
yeah.
like, wait, he's from the prequel of
Of the
Sopranos.
Sopranos. Yep, that's him. Yeah, yeah. I
And
thought
when I
that
watch
he
it,
was
it's like,
great.
oh shit, that's Gandalf son. Like, oh
Yeah,
shit, I would.
yeah.
And he was great. He was a great like snivelly stooge. He
Yes,
was like
that's what I love.
such a
I love how
great snivelly stooge.
yeah, he's snivelly. I love how opportunistic he
Yeah,
is, and I love the relationship between him and BB Urich, right? It's
maybe
like,
right,
oh, like you want me to feed you information. All right, cool, but what you
right,
gain out of this, and what I gain out of this, right?
right,
And just
right.
that back and forth. It totally works, right? So yes, I was digging the whole legal stuff. The courtroom stuff works as well. You really see how Matt is trying to do things by the book, but ever so often it's just that Daredevil side comes out, right? I honestly wish he got more White Tiger stuff, but I understand with the actor passing away that we didn't get that. But I felt we could have gotten more in retrospect outside of this one particular video that they keep showing of him fighting on a bunch of goons in some shop or whatever it is, right? I
Right.
felt we could have got more White Tiger stuff in retrospect, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I get the feeling. I suspect. Well, so I don't know whether shoot with him or if they shot everything with him, but I suspect his death had something to do with that maybe. Because I felt I thought White Tiger was going to be central. Like
Me
in terms of
too.
action,
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be a lot more with him, but like guys, they didn't do that. So it's like, all right, well, would.
Yeah.
And I get the
And it
feeling.
sucks
I get the
too,
feeling I get the feeling they had to restructure the plotline in and around that. Because like I remember he's like a big kind of a decent like character, no? Like fighting wise though.
Yeah.
The little I know from the comics and the little exposure from the cartoons or whatever. That's it.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, I get the feeling they had to write him out and rehaul the story according. So it's
Yeah, and I feel like if he was there, he would have been a nice like counterpart to Punisher, where Punisher's like,
right.
nah, I don't want to deal with this shit no more. But if anybody
Right,
roll up
right,
in
right,
my
right.
crib, I'll
Yeah,
gun you
yeah, yeah.
down. Like we could have had
No,
a
I like-
nice like kind of back and forth between all three of them, but unfortunately, it's just mostly Daredevil, and then in 2 episodes is Punisher. That was a kind of a letdown.
Yeah, no, I like what he got with Frank. Like the little we got with Frank, I like the idea of him just kind of looking like he just completely checked out and burnt out. Like that works. Like because the nature of Punisher as a character is like, look, you can't maintain that. There's a bright light, a bright flash that is burn out fast. It's something that's totally unsustainable. And they set that up. Like, yeah, he's a fucking mess this time, right? Complete mess. Like he was already a mess, but he's like a real mess this round. And they make that work for what it was. And then especially the little bongs off you have with Karen at the end. And yeah, all right. Again, I wish this was we get more of this. Whatever.
Yeah.
Come
Alright,
to a
so
little late, but still good. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So few things before I get to rating, right? I thought that the direction was strong, acting great
Yep.
across the board. I mean, Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio
Yeah.
as both Matt and Kingpin slash
Yeah.
Wilson Fisk. I mean, they hold this show on their shoulders. They are still great, just magnetic on screen, right? I do like how the show, even though they're on Marvel Studios now, I like that it maintains that TV image, right? Like compared to something like Echo, which you got early
Right.
last year, which did not
Yeah. A little too
capitalize on the
soft.
TV Emmy at all. This one is like,
Yeah.
yes, we going all in with it, right? But I love that it was edgy, but it wasn't edge lordy, right? Where like every
Right.
single
Right.
episode is some scene of graphic violence or brutality. It's really like it will come in spurts, right? Like ever so often.
Yeah.
The final episode though, there's a moment with Kingpin and a certain
Kingpin,
somebody,
yes.
and I watch that and swear
Yeah,
to
boy.
God, I
That's
think
right.
that is probably the most brutal moment I have
Yeah, boy.
seen in a live action Marvel
Yeah,
Studios
pretty much.
show currently.
And I actually like there's a scene, remember in season 1, I think, where he rob out somebody with that door. And I think the
Oh,
door scene
I
better.
never forget that. I never forget that.
Yeah.
That door scene
Yeah.
that was by this
Yeah.
oh
I
gosh,
think-
it was by
I
this
think door
river.
scene-
Yeah. Oh sorry, it was by this
door scene?
oh gosh, was it a gold?
Yeah.
Is the gold not the Golden Gate Bridge, but you know talking about
Right.
the bridge in New York?
Brooklyn
Yeah,
Bridge.
it was that.
I think Brooklyn Bridge. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. But that door scene better. But this still good. Like this is still like, yeah, they set up how terrifying Kingpin is. Don't fuck with him. He's the boss for a good reason. Everybody, you understand why everybody lining up behind him, and well, not that person, because you find out who it is. And then the stuff with finding out that the guy was outwriting when you figure out who is the one who recorded his conversation. It's like, wow, that rough though. Because that character is a great character to be a nice side character who you can understand becomes compromised because she still have to cater to power. I love what they do with her. Like it's not super, not too much. Just like, all right, these people they're in a place where they could either go one way or the other, and they went this way instead of that way. I love that. Great thing. They set it up really well. And it's solid stuff.
Right.
Go ahead,
I do love, as a wrap up here, right? I do love the inclusion of the BB report, right? Which is this, I assume, an online show that BB Europe does. Where,
well, it's more like it's a documentary.
Yeah, but I'm assuming it's put out online. It's not like a
right.
I don't think it's a TV program, right?
Right. Well, I get that. Right.
Whatever,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's just a fit with modern media. Yeah, I get that.
Right. And I love that it's just casual people on the street, and she just asks questions. And just this is how I feel about Wilson Fisk. This is how I feel about crime and all that kind of stuff, right?
It's a nice use of the vox pop of the world. That works. Yeah.
Exactly. And you see it throughout the entirety of the season, right? And for me, that taps into what I think why the season worked for me, right? I love the fact that it is grim, like uncompromisingly grim and dark, right? It doesn't shy away from the fact that yes, this guy Wilson Fisk is a problem, but he is in power now, So yes, you can look through, you can read through the lines and be like, yeah, it's sort of anti-Trump, it's like Wilson's a figurehead for Trump. So like the way how the show feels, right? Especially even right down to the music and all too. It's just like, yeah, boy, hard times, boy. Like what we could do, boy. This man in power, dread, and life is gonna suck because this man's gonna get away with murder. So you see the real life, contrast, right? Like it's purposeful, right? Some people might say it's on the nose, but I think that it's all intentional, right? But I do like that at the very end, even though it ends on a cliffhanger, there's a sense of hope. There's a sense that it and just the mere fact that it's set in New York City is perfect in my opinion, right? Because I mean, look at the history of New York, right? I mean, September 11 and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, it's the idea that they will survive and they will come out of it and be better, and yeah, justice will come one way or the other, right? It's just it will take time. So I like that. I like that within the darkness of the season, there is still this glimmer of hope, right? And even right down to the very end, right? Where it's just like, look, like the man's still alive, the man's still getting away with shit, but look, if we work together, we could take him down, But we just had to write it out, but we just had to stay the course. That's what it is, right?
Right.
So yeah, I can understand some people walking out to this like, wow, this is so dark and so grim and hopeless. But like, boy, what kind of show is this, right? But no, it's Daredevil. That's what it is, right? That's what was set up with the Netflix show anyway. It's a dark, grim superhero series. That's what it is, right? But I love that it was translated pretty much into Marvel Studios territory. I like that it wasn't watered down or diluted at all. This is the show.
Right.
So yes, it's in a world now where there's Spider-Man and Miss Marvel, right? But it's the
Right.
same dark, grimy shit that we've seen before, right? I'll close this, right? With the mid-credit scene, because yes, there's a mid-credit scene. Something telling me, right, with the success now of Born Again and the fact that we get a new season, and then, well, a season 2, I suspect that one or two of the other characters from the Netflix MCU will pop up on this. My
Yes,
first guess right
I
now
heard.
is what's that? My
Yeah.
first guess right now is Luke Cage. Because they need to
Right.
continue that arc though. It stopped at 2 seasons, and I thought the second season where it stopped off was brilliant. They need to
Right.
continue that because we see in New York, Red Hook, all that kind of stuff. Want to Harlem. Want to Harlem.
Right.
Go to Harlem. Show me how Luke is dealing with this shit, right? Come on, let me
Right.
see that, right? Jessica Jones, I feel like her story done. And Fisk, maybe he could come back. Well, of course, Punisher have to come back, right? But yeah, I guesstimate that Luke Cage will return in one way, shape, or form, right? But not like, oh, it's gonna have it. Maybe it could be a springboard for a new series with him, I guess. But maybe I don't know.
I was saying, okay, so like I didn't completely hate the show, but it was, when you think about it, it was kind of generally underwhelming, right, for the most part. Like I enjoyed for what it was, but it was kind of underwhelming. But then when he and Danny was bouncing off each other, I was like, oh, that was solid. And yeah, they could listen, if they push a whole Heroes for Hire show, that could totally work. Especially in the context of this. Like I would like to see if they just outright do that now. I look, Finn Jones, yeah, he kind of bad, but like he should. I don't know. Could he get a second chance? I know I've heard him complaining and blubbering on online about him needing a second shot, and he could, if he get give him a second chance, he'll do good. I'm like, all right, maybe we'll see. But if they do that, then yeah, maybe. Jessica Jones, I'm not sure. She could probably come back. I'm not sure how that'll work if they do it, because I wasn't a big super fan of Defenders. Like I thought it just generally felt flat. It's all right.
Yeah, it was all right. It was all right. Yeah.
It mostly because of the clumsiness of season 2 that just make it didn't work, in my humble opinion. But so that's about that. But for me, if anything they could do, if it's one springboard they could do, is 2 things. I would love to see Daredevil bounce off of Heroes for Hire type show. That could work. So a season 2 of this could be a backdoor pilot for that. And then, yeah, Spider-Man. Like, Spidey is now a straight up just a New York character.
Yep.
Not all of that Avengers bullshit anymore. It's just, he's not Iron Boy Jr. or anything like that. It's just straight Spider-Man, but he have no life this time, and they I don't know what they're gonna do with it. But Spider-Man in the context of this narrative, I really want to see what they could do. Like, just a vicious police force versus Spider-Man to kind of even the odds. Like Spidey will cook most of these characters easy, right? So what, if you have a police force that's not pulling their punches against Spider-Man, what version of that could work? I can see them building or doing something with that as it was, because yeah, Matt had a little cameo in the third Spider-Man movie, so it's like, yeah, they could do that. It's right there. They meet each other already. So I want to see what they could do. But yeah, as it is, I would have preferred if they had a resolution to this. But like the way how they framing it, as if, well, Kingpin just going to be in charge indefinitely, they're not going to resolve this. And again, I suppose the allusion is to, like, the kind of obvious allusion is to like a second Trump administration or something like that, right? So I want to see what they're going to do with it as it is. But yeah, didn't super love this, but I liked it enough to say, all right, I could work with more of this, like as it is, right? But that's about it, yeah. So, but I gave my rating already 8 out of 10. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, same here too. Didn't love it. But this felt like, yeah, this is the Daredevil stuff that we've enjoyed from from Netflix, right? Now on a new platform, right? So for me, I'm gonna give this a very light 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I think I actually don't mind the slow burn vibe of it, but I know some people might be turned off by it. But I'll disclose this, right? If you are familiar with the original series, then this is just just back to basics. It's just a return to the world that just that dark, grim neo-noir world that you know and love, right? But for the uninitiated, they might just find this to be a drag. They might just find this to be like, oh, so grim and dour, but. Sorry, that's Daredevil. I'm sorry, that's just what it is, right? So I like, again, that the show did not water itself down, it didn't dilute itself. It is the show that we know, right? But I think that there is a possibility that we could bring in other Defender characters. I said my pick
Right.
is Luke Cage. I think that he should be the
Right.
best person to come in. Iron Fist, yeah, maybe I guess, but
Right.
you see, for him now, then you got to bring more of his character. It's just all right.
No,
Not so much bringing his characters. It's just how to make him relevant. That's what it is. Because in his case,
Yeah, no,
it's
as
all
I've
about
said.
the hand. It's him taking out the hand. But with
Right.
this whole narrative with Born Again, we don't need the hand. It's all about taking down
No,
Kingpin
as I
and
said,
the Punisher worshippers. That's really it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't see it like that. Like my attitude is just do heroes for hire. Like just have it be that. So you don't need to have it's the two of them. So they don't have a show on to serve. You just have that own show. You bring it both of them and you build with both of them. Because like I find the little stuff we got with the two of them back in Defenders wasn't bad. Like I was like, oh, we could get a show. So I don't know. I have no idea if Mike Coulter gonna come back. No clue. No clue if Finjo's gonna come back. No clue. But yeah, we'll see. As it is. So yeah, that's a pretty.
Yeah. So Daredevil Born Again season 1 is worth checking out. But this is for the fans. But I recommend for those who have not seen it, just go on Netflix and watch the first 3 seasons, especially that last one, because what happens in that last one really pretty much bleeds over into what we see here in Born Again, man. But Daredevil is back and Born Again, So it's this season 1 was solid business, true and true, man. Can't be mad.
Right.